Welcome to High Notes, where expectations are low and enjoyment's high. My name is Alec. Today we'll be talking about Okilly Dokilly's first studio album, Howdilly Doodilly, originally released in 2016. The album opens up with the single, White Wine Spritzer, which unfortunately is the best cut on the project. It does well to introduce to you what they consider delivering as nettle, but the quality of the project otherwise doesn't really keep up. Now you'd think that with 34 seasons of TV, despite how many characters there are, you'd have a bevy of Flanders quotes to use across the album, maybe even one per song. Apparently not, with just one example being Donut Hell, where it seems like it's the devil talking to Homer in a Treehouse of Horror episode, with the vast majority of the tracks being under 3.5 minutes. Funnily enough, my second favorite track on the album is They Warned Me, which is just them saying the same 3 words over and over again. Time and time again, I surprise myself. It's not hypocrisy, I swear. Not that I necessarily need to prove so, but the track Godspeed Little Doodle has Head Ned saying the same lyrics, no difference, in 6 minutes time. I quite enjoyed the instrumentation in the last minute and a half, but why does it have to be 6 minutes long? It's not varied enough to be remotely worth it. What I found most interesting is that while their love of The Simpsons brought the group together, they came from all sorts of backgrounds musically. Said backgrounds become more relevant as the album goes on as they go against typical metal expectations, including a short jazzy section on the track Press Destruct Button. I really enjoyed it despite there being no reason it should be there. Other inclusions are track Panic Room, where they go old-fashioned folk, and track They Warned Me, which includes a nice Gregorian chant. As low as I'm scoring this, I do try and see the good in things, and by golly do they shoot their shot. They introduce synths throughout the album for God knows what reason, and despite the fact that it probably shouldn't work, it surprisingly does. Why does it work? If nothing else, I'd say they've introduced an idea that should be explored more by others in the genre. Now with that being said, I'm not too knowledgeable about metal, so if I'm wrong, let me know. It just seems like an interesting concept that they've executed on well. Not gonna lie though, it's novelty music for sure. Nothing screams originality or Ned Flanders with how little quotes they've actually used. If they had kept up with the costumes and did something akin to Christian death metal, I think it would have been great. It'd have been more musically interesting, possibly even more lyrically interesting, and it'd be in the same vein of Ned Flanders. Religious, but not being one to bend over backwards. Hell, I'm not particularly religious, but I would have paid good money to see something like that in person. While it wasn't a particularly memorable experience, it was a somewhat enjoyable one. It's not the worst intro to metal, but I suppose your musical watershed moments don't have to be the grandest or best for you to want to dive in further. Instrumentation, much like everything else on the record, was solid enough that it kept me listening, but looking back, I can't remember most of this album. Feel free to correct me on any portions of this review, as I'm not a Simpsons fan. Last I heard, Ned doesn't swear though. They swear a good bit, but they're meant to be emulating the guy. One of the things they do best on the album is adding in clear vocals to keep things fresh. As with how not good it is, it'd be that much more obvious if it was just Head Ned's growls. He's actually not that bad of a singer, with said clear vocals appearing frequently past the first 3 tracks. All of them work quite well aside from what Head Ned is doing on Sacrifice. It's operatic in nature, but that would imply it sounded lovely. It wasn't. Whatever it was, he was most definitely not skilled enough to pull it off, and it was definitely not within his vocal range. Nice to see him trying though. In this case, it's just a reminder to play to your strengths. Stupid sexy Flanders. Anyways, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, and subscribe if you'd like to see more like this. Track rating breakdown is in the description. Be kind and meet your neighborinos.